Yeah, my name's Geraint Richards. I'm the head forester for the Duchy of Cornwall, so responsible for the management of the trees and woodlands across the entire Duchy's land holding. And my reason for being a tutor on the Woodland to Workshop course and also a trustee of Woodland Heritage is because I believe we have in this country a fantastic woodland heritage. I mean, look at the woodlands we have on our landscape. Look at the way we've used timber in our history. Look at the buildings we've put up. Look at the boats we've built. Look at the way timber fueled the nation. So we have this fantastic woodland heritage, but I feel we've lost that woodland culture over recent decades and even the last century. And this course is hopefully part of the revival of that woodland culture.
Now, 20 years ago, we became frustrated with a lot of things that were going wrong in the train, and we could see things were wrong. And I spoke to Lewis and he said, look, unless we tackle this issue of what is wrong with British forestry, the timber supply, resourcing, and above all, sustainability, us and our trade are going to get a very bad name.
I helped to start the charity Woodland Heritage over 20 years ago now. I know Peter mentioned the word sustainability. Well, over 20 years ago, it's not a word that you heard very often. And I suppose that a group of furniture makers got together and said, well, we use wood. So, you know, some of the wood we use is over 100 years old. Why don't we put something back so that our future generations can actually make beautiful things out of wood?
The first course came about, I should think about 8 years ago, and it came about really as a result of conversations between myself and Peter Goodwin and one or two others, all of us worrying greatly about the state of the industry and the fact that it's petering out.
The Woodland to Workshop course is really our way of actually showing how we can now reach out far more. We've put together a team of terribly experienced people. Will Buller, who you will no doubt see a lot of, he's got this wonderful background being a cabinet maker, a joiner, a sawmiller, the whole thing. And then we've got these experienced foresters running day-to-day woodlands, and then we've got the experienced log buyer, the timberman, Gavin Munro, who really is utterly unique.
We never really know until more or less a couple of days before the course what we've got, and the mix seems to come naturally. I mean, we have a shipwright coming on this next course, and I'm really looking forward to this because we haven't had one before.
It is thinking about trees and woodlands holistically, all the way through from planting, management, care of trees, all the way through to making beautiful objects and useful objects from those trees sustainably.
And I think that link between what we do in the woods and what Will and Gavin do in the course just provides that unique insight really into forestry and timber.
With regard to the course, it is something I have to say I wish I did at the very start of my career because it sets everything into context, I think. If you get to see it, have an overview of growing trees and using timber, and you can then sort of ask questions and think about the rest of your career in the light of that.
And you're going to cut it properly for him, aren't you? You're going to cross-cut it absolutely dead square, aren't you? You're going to make sure that that chainsaw is absolutely sharp on both sides of the blade.
The course is fantastically fortunate in having this combination of these beautiful woodlands adjacent to this sawmill, and that starts one thinking about the process as a whole. And it is unique, I think.
It's less obvious now, but not long ago you would have seen how distressed these trees were.
When you see a blemish on the outside of a tree, there is usually something underneath it which detracts from its value.
There are courses for cabinet makers, there are courses for architects, designers, there are courses for foresters, but the whole sort of middle area of the timber industry, the sawmilling, the drying, the preparing and so on, there is no system of education for that, and there never has been. That lot has always been learnt in the trade.
The From Woodland to Workshop courses are so important because people come on it that are foresters that know nothing about woodworking, woodworkers that know nothing about forestry.
We've been really pleased to see the diversity of people that have come forward to take this course, I think it is part of the nature of it because it does cover such a wide range of subjects all the way through the wood chain. But we've had apprentices, we've had young people, we've had landowners. Very often we've had as many women as men, and which of course pleases me enormously.
So one of the main reasons for the course was to try and put those trades together in the same room from all sorts of different levels, but all within the industry, and put them all on a single course where they will learn a huge amount about all the different aspects. And we feel that they will benefit greatly from knowing more about what their allied trades do.
A whole range of people who have done this course over the years. It's fantastic. Landowners, architects, carpenters, furniture makers, horse loggers, apprentices, and it's that mix that we truly delight in Woodland Heritage, to have those range of skills, those range of interests.
Look around you. Look around you. What looks like it's growing and thriving well? And here, of course, you'd say, well, actually, the oak and ash are doing quite well, thank you very much. Well, yes, they are, they do. The soils are right, the conditions are right.
A woodland has several elements to it. You have what we call the canopy, the overstory, but you also have the understory. There are these woodland shrubs that never grow into trees, but form a really important element in the understory.
Everybody who works on this course actually does this for a living. They do what they teach for a living. That's a rare opportunity for people. Teachers are usually stuck as teachers. They don't usually get a chance to teach what they do for a living. It's a real plus for this course that happens.
It's delivering woodlands that for the most part have very high levels of biodiversity. And I think we've been on the foresters, we've been on the back foot for far too long and felt tremendous pressure coming from lots of lobby organisations. And actually at last now, we're actually saying, no, wait a minute, why should we be on the back foot? We are the most sustainable industry in the world. You know, we are sucking in all the carbon that everyone else is emitting. You know, we're producing a timber that's far better than concrete and steel from a sustainability point of view. You know, we're delivering high levels of biodiversity, far more per acre than probably the adjacent farmland. You know, we're giving a woodland environment that people love walking in and that we know is good for human health, de-stressing people, you know, longevity, all these things. I mean, this is the good news story is fantastic.
And so here's this team of people who all wanted to put something back, and that goes back to the Woodland Heritage ethos. We were putting something back, and now we want to move on, and now we can do it to young people.
One of the things we really wanted to do was to take a few old people like myself and the other tutors, not all old, but most of us are, who before we ceased to have a useful role, could perhaps pass some of that information on.
You go around a third and do it again, and if you find ripple in there you can begin to get excited, and then you go around another third, and if it's there you've got a rippled tree.
The grey squirrel came from North America and it wrecks trees. It goes for the sort of sugary sap underneath and it strips the bark. Grey squirrels will prevent us having the ancient woodland that we've enjoyed. I mean, you've walked around and seen some lovely ancient woodland or ancient semi-natural woodland today. All of that grew pre-grey squirrel. And so you will see what's going on. You can see each tree all the way around, which is hard to do from a machine cab, but you'll also see badger sets, you'll see raptor nests, you'll see other things that are going on, tree health indicators.
It's a short but very intensive, very hands-on course. It's for practical people, so we teach in a hands-on way.
Each log is totally different, has its own identity and qualities, and this is what my job is, to bring these qualities out.
I've learnt an enormous amount, often by making mistakes, and I'd really like to have a chance to pass as much of that on to as many people as I can, rather than just have them have to make the same mistakes again, and a lot of them are quite expensive.
And you find that a lot of people that have been on this course are now in the loop, as you say these days. The networking between the students is probably as important as the tutorship.
There is a workshop element, so there is always somebody, a chap called Ben Asson, who works in the workshop as a tutor, and he works on a little project throughout the course, and they can always drop in on him. Those people who are particularly interested in that can drop in on him.
Very few people these days actually talk unashamedly about timber products, their usefulness, their beauty, and that, I hope, is something that Woodland Heritage can really go forward and promote.
This course is absolutely in between the two industries, the end users and the people who are producing the timber. So for me, as the end user, it's great to see where it comes from and see how it's grown, and maybe how that can then influence how we go on to use it.
For me personally, sustainability is a motive for forestry I want to do, and this course really caters for that in terms of continuous cover and in terms of the way that they run the course.
But go away, think carefully and don't rush into things. We can steer you to a future where, if you're setting up a business or starting out in a career, we can really help you with the knowledge we've gained.
I think one of the critical things we have to do is revive this woodland culture, and one of my great beliefs is we need to educate people, we need to inform people, I'd love to think we could get into schools and colleges and early on teach children how important our trees, our woodlands are, and that they can deliver these multiple benefits, and that management is not a bad thing. In fact, it's a vital thing. It's a really important thing to be growing trees and using timber, to quote the Woodland Heritage strapline.
And we believe that we need to create and embed what I would call a wood culture in this country.
We'd almost forgotten all the things that we bring, you know, the sustainability story, the carbon fixing, the beauty of the woodlands, the enjoyment that people get. I mean, it's fantastic. Thank you.